Science and Innovation of the G77 Plus China in Havana, Cuba this week noted that the Bahamas remains mindful of its commitment to the Sustainable Development of Goals Agenda 2030. However, there are significant challenges in the Bahamas when it comes to water security, including limited fresh water resources and poor water quality, leading to over-reliance on desalination.
The vulnerability of our islands to storm surges, sea level rises on the coastlines, as well as salt water intrusion, are also areas of concern which impact our freshwater resources. The Bahamas has no significant rivers or lakes, and its freshwater supply primarily relies on underground freshwater lenses and rainfall. The freshwater reserves are limited, making our country vulnerable to water scarcity, and ensuring sustainable management is essential.
The Environment Minister says environment officials remain vigilant in ensuring any threat to water quality is managed adequately. To assist in that effort, the forestry unit within the ministry has begun to plant 10,000 trees on islands that are severely impacted by challenges, including hurricanes.
To meet the water demand, the Bahamas has increasingly turned to desalination plants which convert seawater into fresh water. While desalination helps ensure a reliable water supply, it is energy intensive and very costly to maintain. It should be noted that we are in the midst of our energy transition, and every effort is being made to ensure a just transition.
As the Bahamas shares maritime borders with the United States, Cuba, Haiti, and the Turks Caicos Islands, Minister Miller says that partnership is crucial to development.
Preserving intact wetland ecosystems and implementing sustainable management practices can help maintain their role as carbon sinks, as well as support biodiversity, improve water quality, and to provide valuable ecosystem services for both humans and wildlife. Some would say that partnership makes miracles happen. Although we are not doing well, there's still much more that needs to be done, and we cannot do it all by ourselves. We're reminded of the African proverb that states, "Many hands make light work." And as we agree to commit to prioritizing our environment, we understand that we cannot do it alone.
The G77 Plus China meeting, which includes Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, are a part of the 14th Convention of Environment and Development. As the Bahamas draws near to its 50th anniversary of independence, the Golden Jubilee, we acknowledge the role of art and culture and its contribution to the country over the past 50 years in forming the country's identity around the world. That being said, Jcn News was able to have an intimate one-on-one conversation with one of the country's premier creative minds. Cale Campbell has more in this next report.
A native son of Baintown, Tavares Strawn was first inspired by his family's involvement in Junkanoo, or what he describes as, quote, the creative energy in the community through his formative childhood years of watching Junkanooers. He would give back creatively to his community in 2006 what would be one of his most iconic projects, The Distance Between What We Have and What We Want, where he transported a 2.5-ton block of ice to the courtyard of his childhood elementary school, Albury Sales Primary, displayed in a solar-powered freezer.
People like Dr. Off, the Munnings, Chipman, and so I always was interested from then in expanding the definition of what it means to be a Bahamian, an artist, and that piece of ice, bringing that piece of ice from the North Pole to the Bahamas was all about expanding the understanding and the vocabulary and the definition of what people think art is, what people think being Bahamian is, and you know, bringing this foreign element into a hostile environment during the hottest day of the year and using the sun's power to harness it was a part of a storytelling about what people expect from, you know, a Bahamian and how to disrupt that expectation.
With 50 years gone by since the official journaling and documenting of Bahamian art, portraying the beauty of island life and landscape, we ask the conceptualist what he sees in the next 50 years for Bahamian creativity, along with its impact to the country in the future.
If you think about what it means to be a sculptor, or a painter, or a filmmaker, or a fashion designer, or a part of the creative class, you want to be able to measure the progress that we've made. And a huge part of that is just expanding the vocabulary of what we as a community believe being Bahamian is and being an artist is. Because as I said earlier, one of the things we spoke about earlier is, the first Oscar winner that's black in the world is from these small islands.
Strawn explains that the depth in creativity has always been a part of the Bahamian spirit, in that, after one takes care of their basic humanistic needs, there is a natural draw towards culture and one's contribution towards it. Now, Strawn, whose work involves examining the intersection of art, science, and the environment, believes technology and its advancement will definitely play a part of contributions towards culture in the future.
Culture is a huge part of what's going to drive the future, right? Especially with the advancement of AI, cultures are going to become extremely important. So how we think about, the creative class, we think about fashion, we think about filmmaking, we think about music, we think about, art making, we think about theater. These are all going to be important and vital parts of any international or local economy. And so for me, it's always important for us to think about that as the center, not as a side attraction, right? Filmmaking, plays, these are very, very significant industries. So I think we should keep in mind that in the next 50 years, we need to have a laser focus on the creative production in the community.
Strawn explains that in his travels and working internationally, one realizes that there is much creative history right here in our small archipelago. Heading into the next 50 years, Strawn says we must consider how we pay respects to that creative history and the backdrop of creativity that is outside of the norm, and thinking of the next generation of creatives merging concepts that are seemingly very local with international ideas and expanding the Bahamian palette. For Jcn News, I'm Cale Campbell.
Thanks for that report, Cale. The Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union gathered in protest outside the Department of Labor on Thursday afternoon after the union's chief shop steward was allegedly wrongfully terminated by Atlantis Paradise Island, according to Union President Darren Woods.
We have a chief shop steward for the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union who has been terminated for what they call inciting a work stoppage when she was not even involved with it at the beginning, right? They also said that she was grossly insubordinate by refusing to send the employees back to work. It is not her job to send employees back to work, but she complied. They didn't like the manner in which she told the employees to go back to work, and so therefore they took an action which was on Tuesday, which is the preliminary action. They suspended her, which is required under our industrial agreement, for investigation purposes. So when we went back for the meeting today, we wanted them to produce the evidence to support the actions that they were written on the document. Because out of the same meeting that we were in, they kind of agreed that she complied, but yet still they terminated her. And what we see this is an attempt to get at the union in the first instance and to silence the employees.
The employee in question in this case is Miss Princess Adley. She's been employed at Atlantis for the past 24 years, since 1999, without any prior run-ins with her employers. A self-proclaimed spokesperson, she says she believes she is being victimized because of her outspoken nature.
I feel victimized because I'm an outspoken person. I speak my mind and nobody is going to take advantage of me. I speak my mind, and if I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to tell you about it. That's me.
So how do you feel in this very, outside of being victimized, what does this say?
It shows me the character of the employees in there. Because at the end of the day, right now we're walking in Atlantis and you're walking on eggshells. You can't open your mouth to say nothing. A fear of being written up, a fear of being fired. And the staff in there, if they want to be truthful and honest, they are fed up and they are tired. But everybody's afraid.
Union members say attempts have been made to reach the minister, but they have not been successful. Meanwhile, Atlantis has recently come under investigation by the Department of Labor in regards to their comments to staff members in relation to the proposed Royal Caribbean Beach project on the western end of Paradise Island. Sailors and soldiers from the USS Wasp amphibious landing vessel and the Rhode Island National Guard volunteered at the Simpson Penn Center for Boys and the Willie Mae Pratt Center for Girls. That was last week. The Wasp and the Ring, they were in the Bahamas to celebrate the independence of the United States and 50 years of bilateral relations between the United States and the Bahamas. They helped provide mentorship to the next generation of Bahamian women and men, said Captain Nikia Cooper. She's the Wasp commanding officer. Sailors and soldiers partnered with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force to facilitate small group discussions and complete community service projects funded and organized by the U.S. Northern Command. This included donating $7,000 in supplies to paint and repair the reform schools. U.S. Northern Command, they also donated 2 water heaters, 4 industrial fans, and educational materials to the centers. The visit exposed the young residents to military-based careers, survival tactics, and do-it-yourself vocational skills. And finally, the Cancer Ball Committee proudly presents a record-breaking $206,000 to the Cancer Society of the Bahamas, fueling hope and growth for their ongoing work, including the expanding of projects and operations of the Cancer Center. Co-chair of the ball, Laverne Wildgoose, expressed profound appreciation and thanks to their supporters, donors, and other dedicated committee members. She says their unwavering generosity and tireless efforts have ignited a beacon of hope, propelling society towards its mission to support those affected by cancer and raising awareness for the fight against cancer in the Bahamas. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jarino Saunders. Thanks so much for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.